straight up, that's 100% a lie. I felt like he wasn't interested in developing.
To have dealt with it either very well, or I'm not a psychologist, I'm just a parent.
You won't believe the tea we're spilling today. From secret breakups to shocking lies, this is unreal tea. Hit subscribe before the drama starts. Welcome, everyone. Everything turned around the night a phone never rang. Not the first time. Not the second time. But for the fourth time, while a child gasped for air. That moment, sources say, was the beginning of the legal firestorm that could rip the Brown family apart and reveal secrets the cameras didn't catch. Before we get to the explosive court documents and sealed depositions now shaking Flagstaff, you should know this. What had appeared to be a gradual divorce was, in private, a countdown to conflict. It all started with Christine Brown's departure from Flagstaff to Utah, not the beginning of their issues, but the breaking point. She brought Truly with her, expecting a thin armistice to hold, phone calls, sporadic visits, the facade of decorum. But inside sources tell us that fantasy broke and then broke apart. The breaking point? A chillingly ordinary evening and a medical crisis. Actually experienced a bad asthma attack. Christine rushed her into the ER, calling Cody repeatedly. No reply. Text messages dismissed. Hours afterward, close to 7 a.m., Cody finally responded, "Is she okay now? I was sleeping. Had my phone on silent." For Christine, that wasn't an excuse, it was a revelation. Her ex wasn't a co-parent. He was an obstacle. Within weeks, she retained one of Salt Lake City's fiercest family law firms, building a case not on gossip, but on Cody's own words and his decade-long history on sister wives. Court sources say the filing is acted out like a savage script, citing moments when Cody's inadequacies as a parent are exposed. None more painful than the time his daughter Isabel underwent scoliosis surgery, a moment family law expert James Corrin deems legally catastrophic. But that was merely the beginning. Christine's lawyers broadened their argument, mapping out Cody's emotional absence throughout the pandemic, his overt contempt for Christine, and the psychological damage to Truly. They contended this wasn't a tale of a marriage in disintegration. It was evidence of withdrawal on the part of a father from his child for an extended amount of time. The image presented to the court? A man physically present in crisis, emotionally present at home, and on film, on his own television show, acknowledging his shortcomings. And just as the case was building to a boiling point, came the bombshell of another secret affidavit, this one from Janelle. And rumors that Robyn, the wife Cody went to bat for at all costs, may now be drawn into battle. This isn't a custody war. It's the start of the Brown family's most explosive showdown yet. They had their retorts ready. That Christine was resentful. That she was dramatizing. That Cody's behavior was all in the interest of defending the big family. What they were not expecting was the bombshell that followed, a sworn affidavit, a declaration of support for Christine filed with the court by Cody's second wife, Janelle Brown. This, our source says, created shockwaves in Cody's camp. Janelle was not a disgruntled ex. She had for years been regarded as the calm, rational, and logical one. Her word was authority. And her assertion, we're informed, served not merely to uphold Christine's allegations of neglect. It brought forth a horrifying new accusation, parental alienation. Whereas Christine's petition centered on the relationship between Truly and Cody, Janelle's affidavit brought the two children at the center of the family's split under the court's scrutiny. Cody and Robyn's youngest, Solomon and Ariella. Janelle Nal, who resided next door to Robyn for years in the cul-de-sac and had considerable time in Flagstaff prior to her own separation, sat front row center to the goings-on in the big house. Her affidavit, as described by a source briefed on its contents, was a chilling description of what she saw. Parental alienation, very serious legal terminology. It's a tactic whereby one parent will consciously attempt to harm a child's relationship with the other parent or, in this special instance, with their extended family and siblings. James Corrin stated, "This is a game share. Neglect is a passive failure. Alienation is an active campaign. It's malicious. It's psychological warfare. If Janelle could come up with some credible, first-hand examples of this, it would change the court's perception of Cody in a fundamental way. He would not be a checked-out dad. He would be a manipulative and harmful one. And based on our sources, Janelle's affidavit was riddled with specific, damning examples. She reportedly said there existed a fortress mentality at Cody and Robyn's house, where the world outside, including the other mothers and their 17 siblings, was presented as inherently dangerous, disrespectful, and disloyal. Janelle's testimony chronicled events that were heartbreaking and surreal. She alleged, for instance, that after Cody had a contentious telephone conversation with one of his older sons, she saw him explicitly informing a then 9-year-old Solomon, "See, your brother doesn't respect your father. That's why we have to be careful." She also characterized a pattern of what she termed information control. The older children's efforts to call or FaceTime their youngest siblings were reportedly often thwarted by Cody or Robyn, who would tell the children they were sleeping or busy. She reported that presents sent by Christine or her children for birthdays and holidays were held for days, presented with the offhand remark, "Oh, look what they sent." That downplayed the attachment. The most incendiary statement in the affidavit, our insider continues, was a flat-out accusation against Robyn. According to our informant, Janelle swore under oath that she felt Robyn was systematically guiding Ariella. She related a moment when Ariella, at the time a toddler, quoted a line that was uncannily close to a phrase Robyn would frequently utter during confessionals. After witnessing one of her half-sisters, Ariella purportedly ran to Robyn and stated, "She doesn't love Daddy like we do." Janelle's conclusion in the affidavit was a cry to the court. With Janelle's testimony, the case was no longer simply about Truly. It was now a trial on the very soul of the Brown family. Christine's attorneys had already demonstrated Cody's abandonment of the children he abandoned. Now Janelle had given a chilling glimpse into what was occurring with the children he kept nearest. The court was now presented with two different but connected arguments that Cody was a father who neglected some of his children and was actively poisoning the minds of the others. The stage was set for an epic legal battle, and Kody Brown was going to discover that the words he had so flippantly spoken on TV for years were now exhibits A, B, and C in his life's trial. We revealed the shock affidavit of Janelle Brown, who blamed Cody and Robyn for a toxic psychological campaign. Now, in the shocking finale, the patriarch fights back. Cody and Robyn unleash a defense tactic built to destroy Christine and Janelle's credibility. We bring you into the court-ordered psychological tests that reveal the family's deepest, darkest secrets. And at last, we lay bare the judge's ultimate explosive decision. A ruling so astonishing it not only takes away Kody Brown's rights, but puts a humiliating public leash on his relationship with his youngest kids. This is the tale of the day that the king lost his throne. Confronted with a two-front court struggle, Christine's elaborate petition of neglect, and Janelle's bombshell affidavit of alienation, Kody Brown's defense team, we're told, realized that they couldn't possibly triumph by playing defense alone. They couldn't refute the video evidence. It was there for all to see. So, they adopted a different tactic, one plundered directly from Cody's own manual. They launched an attack. Sources close to the court case indicate that Cody's formal reply submitted as a declaration opposing plaintiff's petition was more than anything else a manifesto of perceived betrayal. It was a portrait of Kody Brown as not a neglectful father, but as a tragic, wronged victim, victimized by a premeditated, deliberate conspiracy hatched by his angry ex-wives. Our legal expert, James Corian, has examined the reported tenets of their defense. According to James Corian, it's a high-risk, high-reward tactic. It's sometimes referred to as the scorched earth defense. Rather than disputing the facts, you make a personal attack on your accuser's motivation and character. You're saying to the judge, don't believe them because they are only in court for revenge and they're liars. In Cody's situation, they're basically saying Christine and Janelle conspired to use their public platform to take years of family life and spin it into a fabrication of abuse and neglect, all with the aim of cutting him loose with his children and gaining favor with the public. The foundation of this defense, we are informed, was an idea that Cody's attorneys had referred to internally as the patriarchal protection doctrine. A totally new and legally questionable argument. The theory went something like this. As the head of a plural family, Cody's first responsibility was not to the emotional vagaries of any one wife or child, but to the protection and maintenance of the family as a whole. His rigid CO rules, his spending most of his time with Robyn's family, who were all the only ones keeping the rules, and his refusal to fly for Isabel's surgery. These were not acts of omission. They were, his attorneys maintained, tough but necessary decisions of leadership to save the entire unit from a lethal danger. He wasn't leaving his children behind. He was being the ultimate dad, giving up single relationships for the overall welfare of the group. We have secured what is purportedly a portion of Cody's sworn affidavit. It was a brazen account. It redefined his absence as a kind of presence, his neglect as a kind of protection. But the defense did not stop there. They also needed to respond to claims of parental alienation by Janelle, which left the spotlight squarely on Robyn Brown. Robyn, represented by her husband's lawyers, submitted a declaration of her own. It was characterized to our sources as a painting of a woman under attack. In it, she stated herself to be the family scapegoat from day one. She maintained that Janelle and Christine envied her relationship with Cody and that their envy had turned sour into a vicious campaign to brand her as a manipulative homewrecker. A so-called excerpt from Robyn's declaration states, on one side, Christine and Janelle, accusing Cody of being an unfit father, one who neglected a child and poisoned the rest with resentment. And on the other, Cody and Robyn, protesting that they were victims of a vindictive conspiracy by angry ex-wives. With two narratives so incompatible, the court had only one option: proceed to the most intrusive phase of any high-conflict custody case, and with it, the savage, under-oath depositions that compel every secret, every falsehood, and every eruption of anger into the bright light of legal record. A deposition is not a dialogue. It's a trap, one that immobilizes witnesses in their testimonies and opens the cracks. Every pause, every blunder, every flash of fury is recorded, permanently. For the Browns, it was a multi-day ordeal. Our sources characterize it as strained, measured, and sometimes explosive. Let's start with Christine Brown. Cody's lawyer, a fellow named Mr. Davies, allegedly attempted to portray her as unstable and hypocritical, a mother who stretched the truth and broke the rules she accused Cody of disregarding. Davies, Ms. Brown, you say Mr. Brown's COVID rules were just an excuse for neglecting Truly, right? Christine, I say his use of those rules was inconsistent and targeted. They became a shield for dodging his children. Davies, and yet you yourself traveled during the pandemic, attended events, saw family. By your own logic, didn't you also put Truly at risk? Christine, I took precautions. I followed CDC guidelines. My choices were about living life safely. His were about control and avoiding responsibility. Davies, did you ever, in your daughter's presence, refer to her father as a bad dad? Tell her he doesn't love her. Christine, no. That would be heartless. I did say only that her father had very strict rules, and that's why he stayed at Robyn's house. Davies, and you acknowledge, you told her he preferred Robyn's house to hers? Christine, I said the truth. He made me have to choose between him and my adult children. A mother doesn't make that choice. A father shouldn't make her. Sources report that Christine remained calm, composed, and steadfast, deflecting every attack back upon Cody's choices. Then Cody had his turn. For almost 7 hours, Christine's powerful lawyer, Ms. Evans, fire-warmed him mercilessly, with sister wives' clips and his own words. Here is where, say insiders, his TV facade cracked and the authentic Cody was revealed. Evans, Mr. Brown, discuss Isabel's 2020 scoliosis surgery. You declined to attend, correct? Cody, I was not going to leave my family high and dry in the midst of a pandemic. It was a horrible sacrifice to make. Evans, a sacrifice that you made. Let's look at what your daughter thought of it. Plays clip of Isabel crying. Evans, Was her pain edited, Mr. Brown? Was her heartbreak scripted? Cody, you're twisting this. The show is edited for drama. You don't see the hours I spend on the phone, Evans, but you do see her begging for you to be there and you refusing. Legally, that's devastating. Then followed the now famous knife in the kidneys remark. Evans, you called the mother of 6 of your children a violent metaphor. Wouldn't you say so? Cody, it was a metaphor. I was angry. She betrayed me. Evans, did truly betray you, Mr. Brown? Cody, what? No, of course not. Evans, then why punish her? Why exile her from your life? Your wrath was against Christine, but your abandonment was aimed at your daughter. Is that not an accurate judgment? Cody, pounding his hand on the table, this is character assassination. I adore my children. This is a travesty. Sources claim that the deposition was a meltdown. Cody appeared defensive, arrogant, and unable to show remorse. Ms. Evans didn't tear down his arguments alone. She revealed the picture he'd paint in court, a blind father to his own contribution to his family's destruction. The depositions were finished. But the war? Just begun. The contradictory statements had brought the standoff to a stalemate. The judge, confronting a he-said, she-said of epic proportions, was left with one last potent weapon to seek the truth, ordering a comprehensive psychological evaluation of the entire family. A court-ordered custody evaluation is the legal system's nuclear option. A neutral third-party psychologist is brought in to interview everyone involved, the parents, the children, and sometimes others. They conduct personality tests, observe interactions, and then write a detailed report with recommendations for the judge. This report is not just evidence. It frequently becomes the very substance of the ultimate decision. The court, according to what we are informed, hired a very experienced child and family psychologist, a Dr. Anna Sharma, to evaluate them. For a span of 6 weeks, she would see Cody, Christine, Robyn, Truly, Solomon, and Ariella. Her ultimate report, a document stated to be in excess of 80 pages, was filed with the court under seal, but learned through sources familiar with its contents the explosive potential of her findings. Let us dissect Dr. Kararma's so-called findings person by person. Starting with Kody Brown. Dr. Kararma's evaluation of Cody was, our source tells us, professionally merciless. She identified, our source says, strong authoritarian and narcissistic personality tendencies on Christine Brown. The report about Christine was a very stark contrast on Robyn Brown. Dharma's evaluation of Robyn was complicated and multifaceted. She didn't call her a villain, per se, but instead a primary enabler of Cody's bad behavior and an active participant in the alienation of her own kids. But the most compelling and tragic segment of the report, our source says, came out of the interviews with the children. Dr. Kararma's session with Truly at the time, 13, allegedly uncovered a bright and intelligent child who was thoroughly saddened by the lack of her father's presence. Truly loves her father, but is equally confused and hurt over his extended absence. She said, I know he loves me, but he loves being at Robyn's house more. She shows a distinct and firm attachment to her mother, whom she considers to be her main source of stability and comfort. It was during the interviews with Solomon Patend and Ariella 6 that gave the most chilling confirmation to Janelle's affidavit. There was obvious evidence found by Dr. Kararma of what psychologists refer to as parental loyalty conflicts. Solomon shows immense anxiety when questioned about his older siblings. He employs language similar to his father's, addressing family members as disrespectful and not safe. He said he loves his brothers and sisters, but that dad tells us that we can't spend much time with them because they may have germs or bad attitudes. That is a child torn in a loyalty dilemma, being between his natural love for siblings and his desire for parental acceptance. Ariella's interview was even more revealing. Ariella, at her tender age, has learned the family story unquestioningly. When questioned about her sister in earnest, she responded, Christine took her away. She was unable to express any personal recollections of disagreement, but kept saying, they didn't follow the rules, over and over. This parroting of adult speech is a strong indicator of parental alienation. Dr. Kararma's final words of advice to the court were unmistakable. She advised that Christine be given sole physical and legal custody of Truly. But it was her advice on Solomon and Ariella that would be the premise for the judge's most astonishing ruling. She advised that in the interests of the children, the court has to step in and mend the fractured sibling ties and reverse the effects of alienation. The report was filed. The depositions had been transcribed. The evidence was ready. All that remained was for the judge to render his decision. The day of the final decision was, according to all reports, a subdued, serious affair in a locked courtroom. There were no TV cameras, no crowds of cheering onlookers. Just Cody, Robyn, Christine, and their respective lawyers sitting before a family court judge who now held the future of their children in her hands. The judge, according to a detailed report from our source, did not mince words. She began by addressing Kody Brown directly. The judge said, "Mr. Brown, this court has reviewed hundreds of pages of documents, transcripts, and a deeply comprehensive psychological report. You have come forward as a patriarch, a father of many children. But the facts this court sees, much of them direct from your lips, are quite different. They are the facts of a father who, when confronted with difficulties, opted for abdication rather than duty. They are the facts of a man who punished his daughter for the perceived misdeeds of her mother." The judge then addressed the issue of Truly Brown. The judge stated concerning custody of Truly Grace Brown, "The evidence is overwhelming. Miss Christine Brown has served as the child's primary caretaker in every significant way for the last few years. She has given a stable, loving, and supportive home. Mr. Brown's availability has improved, but his judgment, especially concerning his daughter Isabel's health care, is troubling with respect to his sense of priority for his children's welfare. Thus, it is the order of this court that the plaintiff, Ms. Christine Brown, shall have sole physical and sole legal custody of the minor child, Truly Brown." Solely legal custody. That was the punch. It meant that Cody would have no voice in Truly's education, her medical care, or her religious instruction. He was, legally speaking, a visitor only. But the judge wasn't done. She then addressed the problem that had been the dark center of the case, the estrangement of Solomon and Ariella. The judge explained, this court doesn't normally step in and decide on the parenting of a whole family that is intact. But the singular documented and public character of this family structure and the unsettling revelations of D.S. Kararma's report demand that this court act in the best interests of children Solomon and Ariella Brown. The report identifies unequivocal evidence that these children are being methodically cut off from their 17 siblings, an elementary and essential aspect of their family identity. They are being brought up in a climate of suspicion and division, which this court determines to be emotionally damaging. Cody and Robyn, our informant, continues, hunched forward. What was the judge telling them? She simply couldn't. The judge told them that this court is not going to alter the primary custody of Solomon and Ariella. They will continue to live with Mr. and Mrs. Robyn Brown. But whatever has been done cannot now be undone merely passively. This court accordingly commands as follows. During a period of at least 6 months, all of Mr. Brown's visitation and parenting time with his own children, Solomon and Ariella, shall be supervised. Supervised visitation, the very judicial rebuff, a step generally reserved for parents found to be a potential threat to their children. The judge declared, it will not be a stranger who supervises, but a court-appointed therapeutic supervisor. The supervisions are twofold in nature. First, to see that there is no further alienating behavior, and second, to allow healthy reintegration between Solomon, Ariella, and their siblings. The children will have scheduled and regular visits, as overseen by the therapist, with their extended family, their many brothers and sisters, Christine and Janelle. Mr. Brown, you made this family. This court is now mandating that you allow your children to be part of it. This is the order of the court. The decision was not just a judicial loss for Kody Brown. It was a public stripping away of his entire identity. He went into that courtroom a self-anointed patriarch and emerged a father who was judged so unfit that he was not permitted to be alone with his own youngest children. It was a precipitous, humiliating plummet from grace. For Christine, it was a quiet, hard-won victory. She had freedom. She had safety. She had the unchallenged right to be able to raise her daughter free from the drama and poison that had characterized the final years of her own life within the family. For Janelle, it was a double-edged affirmation. Her willingness to assert herself had defended not just her own children's right to know their half-siblings, but had compelled a fractured system to mend, if only by judicial fiat. What next? The journey forward is long and arduous. The therapy-led reunion will be uncomfortable and painful. Psychological harm done for years cannot be reversed within 6 months. Solomon and Uriella are in the middle of a war they never initiated, and their healing will be the family's toughest journey so far. As for Robyn and Cody, they remain in their palatial home on Coyote Pass, a solitary king and queen in a kingdom of 2. Our sources indicate Cody is furious, promising to appeal, yelling loudly to anyone who will hear that the system failed him and that his family was taken from him. He still, apparently, cannot recognize that he lost it all himself. He referred to himself once as the patriarch of a large family. This family's drama is far from over, so smash like if you're #TeamWives, subscribe for the next explosive update, and drop a comment below. Who do you think will win? Stay shady, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next scandal. Kiss mark behind TLC Sister Wives out.